Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Folks, with Deadpool and Wolverine hitting the big screen, it is the perfect time to catch up with the Merc with a Mouth and revisit 2018's David Leitch-directed Deadpool 2. The film is a direct follow-up to 2016's Deadpool and continues the misadventures of Wade Wilson and his ragtag team of mutants, bartenders, and blind roommates. Only this time, we're introduced to even more characters and even more action. But the big question is, how does this movie hold up? Well, let's find out in today's episode of Marvel Revisited. Deadpool 2 follows Wade as he seeks to find a way to bring his beloved Vanessa back to life after a hit gone wrong. Along the way, Wade will need the help of one of our personal favorite X-Men here on the channel, Cable. Cable, played by Josh Brolin, is essential to Wade's plan as he has the distinct ability to travel through time, something that may come in handy for a guy who just lost his girlfriend. Their paths cross when Cable arrives in Deadpool's timeline and is hunting for a young mutant named Russell, played by Julian Dennison, who is prophesized to be the downfall of Cable's future. Pretty serious stuff, huh? Well, you'll be happy to know that Deadpool 2 not only raises the stakes, but it also kicks up the comedy, the action, and of course, the classic Deadpool fourth wall breaks.
Okay, they can't just dust off one of the famous X-Men. How about that Potts with the giant pigeon wings? What do those do anyway, huh? Carry him 3 feet off the ground to snatch up the nearest muffin crumb?
Now, while many might say that Deadpool 2 is pretty good but ultimately inferior to its predecessor, I respectfully disagree. I think Deadpool 2 is actually better than the original and in almost every single way. I mean, think of it this way. What did we love about Deadpool? It was bloody and violent, it was funny, it was raunchy, it broke the fourth wall, and above everything else, it was accurate. Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some. Deadpool 2 is bloody and violent, check. Hilarious? Check. Raunchy? Check. And how about that oh so important comic book accuracy? Well, that's a big fat check. It does everything you would want a Deadpool movie to do, and it does everything that the first one did. Only better. See, Deadpool was so special because we as an audience spent years anticipating what it could be, and when we finally got it and it lived up to everything we expected, it solidified itself as one of the best. But the lore behind the scenes of Deadpool 2 was less of an underdog story and more of typical sequel stuff. So when this movie was a success, it was less satisfying of a victory. But with fresh eyes and after all these years, Deadpool 2 is clearly funnier, has better action, and better characters in general. It's literally the Deadpool movie that we all deserve. The film opens with a montage of Deadpool trying to kill himself while narrating the opening exposition directly to the audience before seeing him slaughter a bunch of thugs and tell us that this is a family film. Yeah, we're already off to a good start. The opening action scene is also entertaining, just like the first movie. We see Deadpool ripping through these bad guys while cracking jokes and giving us plenty of stunts to chew on. It just seems like the confidence in this movie was dialed all the way up, which makes sense given the $1 billion that the first one made. The returning cast is great here with Marina Baccarin, Karan Soni, Brianna Hildebrand, and even Randall Reeder as Buck. Reynolds, as usual, owns the role, and once again delivers a performance that is perfectly suited to his comedic sensibilities. But it's the new cast here that deserves a little bit of praise. We get the iconic Josh Brolin as Cable, who perfectly brings the character's serious and stoic demeanor to life. Also, there's a great joke about him playing Thanos in the MCU in this movie.
Zip it, Thanos. We have a deal, and you fucker. Hey.
Julian Dennison as Fire Fist is also a great turn for the young actor, and who could forget the legendary performance of Zazie Beetz as Domino? We also get cameos from Terry Crews, Bill Skarsgård, Rob Delaney, Brad Pitt, which counts, and even Matt Damon, who is credited as Redneck Number 2. The action is also dialed up with more super-powered characters sharing the screen, allowing for more visual displays of their abilities. The opening action is great, and so is the scene following Vanessa's death when Wade chases down her killer. It is good shit, true believers. Not to mention the whirlwind of action we're in for after Wade's mission begins. There's a pretty epic jailbreak, complete with a hilarious scene of Wade rolling like hell down a mountain, and my favorite action scene, which sees Domino's powers of good luck come into handy during a car chase / rescue mission. It is a fun scene, it is a funny scene, and it is incredibly entertaining. As for the story, I think it's just about as generic as the story of Deadpool, but once again it plays off of that by packing in funny and interesting elements like time travel, cameos, and hilarious jokes. I mean, seeing Deadpool in a cut-off X-Men sporting jersey is pure gold, and a nice way to get him in some sort of X-Men uniform, or should we call it X-Force?
Isn't that a little derivative?
I don't recall asking your opinion, Peter.
Deadpool and Russell make for an interesting dynamic as well, proving to be an effective hero and sidekick dynamic, but also kind of flipping that idea on its head, with Russell being the more mature of the two. Dennison and Reynolds make a good team, and I hope to see them together again on the big screen soon. I also enjoy the ending relationship of Cable and Deadpool, which finally mends the beef and becomes the wholesome family dynamic that we all wanted to see. Sort of. For me, the movie not only delivers on being a great sequel, but in my opinion, it takes everything that we liked from the original and gives us more to sit with and be entertained by. So for me, Deadpool 2 is a solid 8 out of 10 on the rewatch. This movie still tickles me in that very special way. Okay, that sounded wrong. I'm sorry. Good night. Hello and welcome to Friday Night Flicks. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it through another week and here we are together again. Brad Perkins, looks like you're early. Hello, sir. Thank you for being here. Same for you, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Thank you, everybody. For everybody coming back, welcome back to Friday Night Flicks. If this is your first one that you're catching, then a special welcome to you. I'm your host, Kier Gomes, as stated by my beautiful nameplate here. And man, what a week it has been. I was so excited to just get on live, kick back, relax with you guys, and talk about movies. It's going to be a much needed therapeutic experience for me. So hopefully you guys are in the mood for that. Joker Jack Fitak. I'm assuming that what we're talking about here is the opening pre-show video. Not a fan of Russell, I see. I liked him. I liked him in the movie. I like that kid. I think he's funny. Let's get some music going, huh, guys? That'll help with the vibes a little bit, I reckon. Get my nameplate off screen. Let me know if the music is too loud or not loud enough. Should be fine though. I'm sure you guys aren't too concerned about it, as long as we can hear it. So yeah, what movies did you guys watch this week? Comment down below before we get into our main topics. We are going to talk about quite a bit today. I mean, I guess not that much, but we do have a lot on the agenda. Number one, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, don't worry if you haven't seen it. I am going to give you guys a quick little snap review, but I'm going to keep it completely spoiler free. And for those of you that have also seen it, please keep the chat spoiler free as well. So for some of my regulars, maybe you guys can keep an eye on that for me. But please don't spoil anything from Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't want this stream to be the one that ruins the experience for someone else. But I do want to give you guys my thoughts because I watched it last night and I have things to say. All right. I'm going to pull up a couple of comments here. Looks like you guys are already hopping in on the chat, so thank you. Big time for that. Eric N. Cool spelling of the name there, bud. I like it. Hello. Hello. Hello to you, and welcome to Friday Night Flicks. Brad looks like also saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Loved it. 9 out of 10. I would also probably give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe a 8.5 out of 10, but oof. Some of you aren't interested. You don't watch Marvel. That's okay. I'll tell you what. I'm the first guy to admit that Marvel's MCU has kind of worn me out a little bit. But for the big event movies like this, I'll ignore the fact that I haven't seen them all, and I'll just go and enjoy what I get. Why are animated movies outperforming live action at the box office now in general? I don't know if it's specifically because the movies are animated. It might just be that it's either based on a property that people really want to see, or the movies are just good. I think animation's a great medium, and it's one that's finally being taken a little bit more seriously with filmmaking. I think like Studio Ghibli, they kind of bring a prestige element to animation, which I believe is probably why these movies are doing better now. I think animation just in general is appealing to adults more. That's my take on it. Yeah, and guys, keep it. Yeah, thank you. Deadpool 3 was messy. Interesting. Remember, we're gonna keep it spoiler free. So let's talk about it. Let's talk a little bit of Deadpool. You know what? Let me pull up. I'm just gonna pull up the trailer so that you guys have something more interesting to look at than me, or in addition to my face. So I watched this movie last night. All the popcorn buckets were gone, so don't even ask. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I enjoyed this movie as much as I expected to. And I really did expect it to be impressive. Only because the kind of rumors, the things that were getting out about it, it just kind of seemed like a movie that they wouldn't take any chances that would disappoint us. They kept it down to what the fans wanted. And I think that ultimately that's what this movie is it's a fan service film. And if you meet it on its level, and you don't go viewing it as something that's supposed to change your life, but you just go see it as something that's a movie for fans of this universe and characters from our favorite IPs, I think the movie delivered on that very much. And I also think that, wow, we got a real Cable, cool name, really cool name, did not like Deadpool 3. Overrated, you says. Now, I don't want to, again, I'm not going to get into any spoilers, but I think that what makes the movie rated the way it is, if it's overrated, it is, whatever, but it's obviously the cameos, that's really, I think, what this movie is it's just meant to be a service film for us to go and drool over all of the beautiful things that we get. And we did get that in every way and beyond what I was expecting. So that's all I'm going to say. This movie, if you meet it on its level and you go into it just expecting what it's promising, which is just a fun time with two iconic characters running into some other iconic characters from a previous universe, you're definitely going to get that and you're going to enjoy it. Faux show. So I liked it, but we'll move on. I don't want to risk any spoilers here. So we're going to move on. I would recommend, if you guys were thinking about seeing Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine this weekend, I say go see it. I say Wolverine here says go see it. And that's, I guess, all I'm going to say about that. But maybe next Friday. Come back if you guys want to talk spoilers with me next Friday. Because when we can talk spoilers, I have mucho to say. So many things that I would love to talk about. So maybe next Friday we'll do that. I'll think about it. All right, before we get into the main topic of today, which is going to be ranking the entire Karate Kid franchise. Okay, so that's going to include Cobra Kai, which I think is important for people to know because that's a big draw for this franchise, I think. Now, yeah, hey, no hate on Cable here, if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. We support that. We support people who have opinions. The villain was not great. The actress was okay. I actually think, yeah, I mean, Cassandra Nova's a great character, and I thought that she was great, and I agree that that actress is also amazing. Off the top of my head, I can't remember her name, but we interviewed her on JoBlo interviews for her show Murder at the End of the World on FX. I remember that because I edited it. All right, let's move on. Actually, before we do, negative, I have to agree here. I also would have loved to see the yellow and brown, but if you haven't seen the movie and you're hoping for something like that, all I'm going to say is just go see it and see if you get what you want. That's all I have to say. All right, I'm going to move on before I get any more tempted to talk about this movie. I saw that there's a new trailer for Joker Folie à Deux. Now I'm going to turn. There was talks of it. Now, I admit I didn't fully immerse myself in this trailer, but this looks like one that'll probably be more ambitious than the previous one, maybe less grounded. It looks like they're going to be playing a lot in the kind of more cerebral side of things. Could be into it. I could be into it. Sorry, reading your guys' comments here is hilarious. I like this one here. Joker, this is from Cable. Joker versus Falling Down Michael Douglas, which is a better movie. To me, there's no question. I mean, to me, Falling Down is the better movie. I like Falling Down so much. I like the Joker, I would say, but I love Falling Down as a movie. Absolutely love it. So Cable, hopefully that answers your question, pal. All right, let's move on. Let's keep it cruising, shall we? Or actually, you know what? While we're on the topic of comics, before we move on, I have a special surprise for you guys. If you remember, just recently, just a few weeks ago, we had a video sent in from Chris, who was kind of our journalist in the field covering the Beverly Hills Cop sequel, the fourth one. And we have him at San Diego Comic-Con right now. We have Chris and Mike Conway down there, and Chris sent a little update for us to check out. I also have not watched this, so let's just see.
Hey everybody, it's Chris Bumby here at Comic-Con. Been reporting live from a bunch of different panels for the website, so I hope you've been checking out our coverage. Got lots of interviews coming up next week, maybe some reviews, lots of stuff coming up, but right now, make sure to get back to Kier Gomes, who I would imagine is wearing at least 1 or 2 gold chains, not positive, for the live stream as he discusses the Karate Kid movies. You can do it. There we are. So we all know who the badass is with JoBlo is, don't we? Anyway, back to Kier.
Yeah, Chris, we definitely know who the badass is at JoBlo. And you know what? I'll give it to you. It's you. You're the one doing the crane kick in front of the Comic-Con panel. And, you know, I'm the one about to rank all the Karate Kid movies, having never done a crane kick. So I guess we know. Roz Games, hello, welcome to the stream. How is everyone? Hopefully you guys are doing a bit better now than you were before I got on the stream. Hopefully I've lightened your day a little bit. As I said, this is going to be a therapeutic stream. I need to just talk movies and turn my brain off and hang out with you guys. Oh, Bumbray, I don't know if you're seeing this. You might have to watch it after your panels today, but you got a fan here, hip hop legend. Chris, I can tell you firsthand, Chris is a very cool guy. Chris Bumbray is very cool in my book. We also got a Lance Velchek fanboy. Yes, I also love Lance. I was at VidCon with Lance and Tyler and John just last month, hanging out with everybody. Lance is very fun to hang out with. I'll tell you guys that. All right, so wait a minute, hold on a second. Thank you all for loving Lance and Chris, and I'm seeing some supporting comments in here. Do we have any Kier Gomes fans in the house? Do we have any fans of Kier Gomes in the house? Hopefully 1 or 2. If there's only one of you, speak up now, please, so I'm not drowning out here. Ooh, John Fallon. Hello, Johnny. How you doing, bud? Part 1 is a classic. Part 2 is very solid. The rest is shite. Never watch Cobra Kai. Okay, let's get into it. That's my cue to get into it. So today we're going to rank the Karate Kid movies. I have a tier list prepared. We're going to do the movies, and we're going to do Cobra Kai. I'm not going to include the animated series because I've only seen a couple of episodes that I watched for research like last year for work. And that's what we're going to do, you know? Hello. Wow, we got a bunch of people coming in. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I had to beg for it, but I appreciate you guys loving me so much. Thank you. Yeah, all right, let's get to the tier list. I'm going to show you guys what I did. I kind of wanted to make, do not judge me here, my guys. I wanted to make my own categories like I did for the Fox X-Men movies. So I made them, and I'm going to explain them before we get into the tier list, okay? Because it doesn't look like there's much here, but I have things to say about each of these, okay? So at the bottom, so the ones that I don't like, we got body bag. Why is that the bottom? Because we know the iconic line, get him a body bag. And then I think after that he goes, yeah, which I think is very funny. A step above that, we've got wax off, which I thought was hilarious. So wax off is going to be, I'm not going to be able to say that without laughing, but that's going to be the category for movies that in this franchise that I don't like, but wouldn't consider to be offensive as a Karate Kid fan, okay? Not quite body bag. Then we got Sweep the Leg, okay? Sweep the Leg is going to be your middle of the road, serviceable movie for the franchise. Maybe something that some of the fans get a kick out of, some of them don't. Middle of the road, okay? Then we have the Crane. This is going to be an almost perfect Karate Kid entry. This is going to be something that I find gripping, does all the things right that we need for a Karate Kid movie, which we'll talk about as we go. And then we've got the God tier. Then we've got the top of the line, and that is Miyagi. Okay, the Miyagi tier, this is going to be one that, I mean, hopefully more than just the first Karate Kid end up in that category. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how this is going to go. The only thought that I've put into this was researching for this live stream, which was basically just watching these movies again this week. And this is the second year in a row. Let me come back to you guys for a second. This is the second year in a row that I've watched all of the Karate Kid films, like in succession for a JoBlo project. Last time it was for a video I did last year, kind of recapping the entire franchise. And then now for this. And I gotta say, these movies, some of them have incredibly diminishing returns after you've kind of seen them. And I don't even want to say after you've seen them. After you've written, 4,000 words on breaking down these movies, some of them, they lose their charm quick, every time you see them after that. Cable says we need we need an MMA Kid movie. There is that. In fact, I should have put, as a joke, I almost put on this tier list the movie Never Back Down, which is exactly the Karate Kid, but with martial arts, like MMA instead of karate. Basically the exact movie. All right, so let's get into the tier list. I'm going to start us off. I think it'd be fun to just do this in the order it's here, so that way we don't just run down the line. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe that is the move. So it looks like, and also let me explain this. There's 2 here for Cobra Kai. I think this was maybe made at a time when there was only 2 seasons. I'm going to not break down the seasons of Cobra Kai, partially because I've not gotten into season 5. You know what I'm saying? I watched everything up till season 5 so far. So I'm not going to be breaking them down by seasons, but by show. So one of these will be left at the bottom. And this one's easier to tell what it is. So for Cobra Kai, this is a fun one to start on because I like Cobra Kai. I'm going to put it for now, just to kind of, just like we did a few weeks ago with X-Men, just to kind of set a precedent of like, is it better or worse than this? I'm going to put it at Sweep the Leg, dead middle. But let's talk about it, okay? Now, I carefully made sure that I have enough time to talk enough about each movie. So hopefully we'll get a little more time with each movie than we did for X-Men. But with Cobra Kai, there is kind of a lot to talk about. And I'm also going to keep everything spoiler free. I know some people that want to get into the show but just haven't yet. But here's my history with it. When I saw that they were making it, this was back when, if you guys remember, YouTube Red was the thing. It was like a streaming service that YouTube was trying to do. So YouTube Red announces that they're doing a Karate Kid legacy series that would follow the bully of Karate Kid into his adult years. Okay. Now, Johnny, the bully, he, the whole purpose of the first season was to show that he was not actually a bad guy. He was misunderstood. And from his perspective, LaRusso was always the villain. And the way that this show pivots is funny to me, because the first season, what I actually thought was ballsy and really good about the first season was that Daniel LaRusso was a fucking asshole. You know, you guys remember that first episode with the LaRusso auto run in? Oh my God, what a prick. I loved that they did that, because what they kind of did was they just tried to show us that maybe all these years later, we can see that maybe Johnny wasn't all that bad. And maybe he just felt like from his perspective, LaRusso was bullying him. It's a stretch, but the show did a great job in season 1 of really making you feel that sympathy, that empathy for this, you know, Johnny Lawrence. And I loved that. I really was into it. So when Cobra Kai got moved to Netflix after YouTube Red was a failure, they continued with a season 2, season 3, season 4, and now there's a season 5. Now, as the show went on, just like with most great shows, as it goes on, we talked earlier about diminishing returns. It's a show that, you know, it gets a little weaker in some areas, but I think it also maybe gets a little stronger in others. But the big thing about this show, and what would keep it for me from going to the next tier, is that I'm just not sure that the show knows what it I don't know if the show stayed true to what it was trying to do. I think it got away from us trying to empathize with Johnny. It got away from the kind of juxtaposition to the original movie, and it sort of just became a celebration of every single Karate Kid movie. You know, it became cameos. It became the MCU. And in that way, I think it started off exciting, but too much of anything right away, it just burns you out. And so for me, it was a little bit of this, a little ups and downs. I like the new cast. I think Xolo Maridueña, I think is how you say it. I think that kid has a long career ahead of him. He's a great actor. He played Blue Beetle, which is a totally underrated movie. But you know, I don't know. I like the show still. Here's the thing. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that fist pump and that every single time I hear the callbacks to the original movie or the music or the themes or the score, or even sometimes I'll see like a moment where, you know, Johnny Lawrence has to make a decision between doing what he would usually do back in the 80s or learning something and moving forward and evolving. And there's a lot of moments that do push the character forward. So I think that's why it's worth always going back. You know, even though that there's things I didn't like about the show, it's not terrible, you know, and there's a lot to it that I actually think is quite good for the franchise. So that's that. All right. Now, I feel like maybe, you know what, maybe after I see season 5 of Cobra Kai, maybe I'll do a segment on a stream where we can talk about it. Because I'm like getting into it now, there's always so much that I start to say that I would love to expand on, but in the interest of time, I just don't know. All right, next we've got Karate Kid, the OG, okay, Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, one of the greatest movies, okay? And when it comes to this franchise, there's only one spot for this movie, and that is clearly Miyagi, okay? Listen, let me play some B-roll so that way there's, again, some visuals for you guys to look at. This is just footage from a video I did about these movies, so there's no audio. It's just B-roll. So I love this movie. This movie is, to me, it's a special one. It's an underdog tale. It's coming of age. There's a hero's journey. This is a movie that, to me, kind of puts everything that you love about classic 80s cinema into practice. And it does it with balance and style It's just a great movie. It's a really good movie that doesn't get old for me. Now, I am aware that nostalgia plays a role in a lot of these things, but that's why, again, that's why all this stuff is subjective. But personally, for me, I don't have as much nostalgia for these movies as maybe somebody like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years older than me might. I got into these movies pretty young, but they were already like out, you know. This first one definitely was like already kind of a popular classic movie. So when I was, you know, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old, kind of just developing my taste in movies, this movie was very prominent, okay, already among the people in my household, people I grew up with. This was a movie that was already well liked, so I was always going to enjoy this movie. But I tell you, I can put nostalgia aside easily, because I was already, you know, I don't know, 10 or 11. This movie was already out. It kind of already felt like a throwback. So I don't know. I think what's left, if you eliminate the nostalgia, is it's a fucking great movie. And there's not that many movies that became franchises that are still ongoing that, you know, are all the way good, that don't have ups and downs. But this is a great example of where it's sometimes just better to leave it at one movie, you know? Not saying that there's not other great, you know, installments in this franchise, but not as good as this one, I don't think. Yeah, see, negative. Yeah, see, it seems like you get the concept of Cobra Kai. I don't know if you can call a guy who traveled the world stealing people's girlfriends and then beating them up a hero, but I love these movies. And that's what I loved about Cobra Kai. That's why I think these movies are so good, because they're movies that your perspective on them kind of shifts as you get older. And so does the franchise. I like that. Now, all that being said, you guys, I don't know for sure if another movie is going to make it into the Miyagi category. So we're just going to have to see. Okay. But let's move on. Next, which one is this one? Karate Kid 3, I think. No, this is Karate Kid 2. Okay. Now, this one might be kind of a hot take, because there's aspects to it that I think are great, but I'm going to, you know what? I don't even think. Okay, listen, I have to tell you guys where I'm at. Just like we did with X-Men, not to keep drawing comparisons, but just like that, let me put on some Karate Kid 2 visuals here. This one takes place in Okinawa, or on Okinawa, because it's an island. So this one's kind of cool. It's very much like a Miyagi movie. It's kind of him resolving some things from his past, and Daniel learning things about him, and then Miyagi learning things that Daniel can then put into practice. There's good stuff. I think this movie is kind of beautiful in terms of the ending. You know, you get kind of you get the sweet ending with Chosen and Daniel having their beef squashed by the end of it. Now, or not even squashed, but having it come to a conclusion where somebody wins, you know. Fallon says, shame on you. Fallon, if you haven't seen Cobra Kai, my brother, you got to see Cobra Kai before you can call out shame on me. Because if you see Cobra Kai and then you still say that this is better, then maybe it deserves another tier up. But if you see all of Cobra Kai and you go, that's about as good, I feel about as many things as I did from Karate Kid 2, then you'll understand. Damn, I'm not going to lie. I kind of nailed that. That was like exactly how I wanted to say, or how I wanted to recommend that show to somebody. That was perfect. Part 2 is the best after one. That's, yeah, you know, I mean, Johnny, you know, of the movies, you're probably right. But Cobra Kai is kind of a wild card because it is a good show. You know? But the other thing I like about Karate Kid 2 is I like Chosen as the villain. I like that the kind of the, not the main villain, Sato, I think his name, but kind of like one of the big final battles is this storm on Okinawa. And I love that the heroes take the heroes' paths, and, you know, it kind of, I don't know, it just delivers on that warm and fuzzy feeling that you get from the first one when Daniel wins the All Valley. It just gives you that same kind of vibe. This movie also, though, is a little bit darker, I think, in some ways. Not like in a noticeable, like, oh, this movie went dark, but it's not as like, it didn't feel as like poppy. You know what I mean? Where Karate Kid, the OG Karate Kid, felt a little bit more, a little more lively, a little more energy into it. Reading your guys' comments, it looks like, yeah, it looks like a lot of Karate Kid 2 fans in here, which is good. Perkins saying that this movie just was high stakes. Yeah, I mean, well, in multiple ways. It wasn't just the Chosen and Daniel fight, but the Storm, Chosen's uncle, and Miyagi. I mean, there was a lot of conflict in that movie, which is maybe why it felt so much darker, at least to me. Ooh, okay, some of you guys are putting your own lists in the comments. Please, yeah, by all means, keep that going. Let's speaking of keeping it going, let's do it. All right, Karate Kid Part 3. I don't know, I'm afraid now because I put Karate Kid 2 on the same tier as Cobra Kai and everybody loses their minds. And I'm afraid that if I put Karate Kid 3 anywhere other than where you guys want me to put it, that I'm going to have to deal with more of this. This was supposed to be therapeutic. I'm more stressed out than I've ever been. But I think if I stay true to myself, fuck me. You know what I'm going to do? Here, let's make everybody happy. This feels right, okay? Karate Kid 2 is the crane. There is more that I like about it than I don't like about it. In fact, if you watch my franchise recap, I kind of praise it as being like the next best thing to Karate Kid. But again, there's ups and downs to all of these, minus the first one, kind of, So this feels right. We're going to do this instead. Karate Kid is in Miyagi, where it belongs. Karate Kid 2 gets the crane because it just feels right, okay? Karate Kid 3, some of you are thinking should be lower. Some of you think it's properly placed, but let me get into why I feel so strongly that this one is worth keeping in the middle. This movie introduces us to Terry Silver. Okay, you thought we loved Kreese? I love Terry Silver. Okay, now he is not enough to carry the movie on his own, and this movie has problems. Okay, for one, to me, this movie is the most forgettable one, even despite having the most interesting villain, because this one feels the most like Karate Kid Part 1. It's a slight return to form, but also a little bit more mature and a little bit darker. I don't want the Karate Kid to be too mature or dark. I just want it to be fun and triumphant. I want to feel like a badass after I see Karate Kid. That's ultimately the goal, right? Is just to get juiced up. But I love Terry Silver, so I can't put this movie any lower than where it's at, because Kreese and Terry Silver are, I mean, when we're talking Karate Kid, other than LaRusso, because honestly, up until Cobra Kai, who the fuck was Johnny? Nobody really cared what happened to Johnny. If we're talking villains of Cobra Kai before Cobra Kai, if we're talking villains of Karate Kid, Kreese was the guy and Terry Silver was the guy. Hip hop legend Mike Barnes did return to Cobra Kai, my friend. Mike Barnes is in season 4 of Cobra Kai. So if you want to see more, now I thought he was unnecessary in this movie, but it was kind of cool to see him come back in Cobra Kai. So yeah, he's in it. They also brought back Chosen in Cobra Kai. They brought back Silver and Kreese, of course. Oh my God, Cable, I could not agree more, bro. I could not agree more that Terry Silver has young Steven Seagal vibes. Not just the slick ponytail, but his face. He also kind of looks like Mars Callahan, if any of you know who that is. Oh, okay. I haven't seen season 5 yet, but is it Mikey Jesus with a G or Guesses? Guesses? It says Mike Barnes is in season 5 a lot, so that's good to know. Yeah. He like owns like a furniture store or something. Yeah, so Terry Silver easily bumps this movie up a couple of tiers, at least, because I think if we were to really analyze it, I mean, there's not much else in that movie. Maybe Mike Barnes for people that I found his presence in the movie, other than being just a complete, you know, I don't know, psychopath. I didn't see like a real big point to him being there, but Silver definitely chalks it up. But other than that, if you were to strip those things away, this movie goes down a few tiers. So far, this feels right. I want to say I was kind of expecting a little more action in the wax off and body bag categories. But I guess with what's left, you guys know pretty much where this is headed. So next we have, they call it here the Karate Kid 4, but this is the next Karate Kid. This is a Hilary Swank vehicle, but also starring the great Pat Morita. Oy. I'm putting it in body bag, and then I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent. Let's talk about it. Now I might ignore the comments. I might ignore the comments during this rant, because for those of you that love this movie, I don't want to feel bad if I shit on it too much. But inevitably there's going to be a little bit of that. So I hate this movie. I watched it last year. I think last year was the first time that I watched it. And I watched it for a video, and I didn't like it then. It felt like a daytime TV version of not even Karate Kid. It felt like a daytime TV movie with a character from Karate Kid being Pat Morita in it. No other real connections. Just it's Miyagi. He's got a new setup. He finds a new pupil. That new pupil is nothing like Daniel, which is at least a choice. And she's troubled. And the villain is like this completely unbelievable school police force. I think they're called like Alpha Squad or something. Yeah, these guys. And they're all pricks. And there's some good performances in this movie. Admittedly, some of the fighting and the choreography is pretty good. Paul Dugan in this movie is an absolute scene chewer. He's very much a villain. But I don't like it. Every time I watch this movie, I find myself kind of, I don't know, not offended at as a Karate Kid fan, but just a little bit like, I cannot believe this was the idea. You know, it almost, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the budget. I don't know what was going on. It felt like it was cheap. It definitely felt like they could not afford to get people that the fans of this franchise would have wanted, other than Pat Morita, who admittedly is the most important person to get. But I mean, you got to do a little more than that. It takes more than Miyagi to make a movie interesting. And I hated this movie. My experience with it, I don't know. It just irks me, and it makes me think that like there was no respect for the franchise at this point. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to open the chat again and see how much you guys disagree. Yeah, paycheck movie. That's a good way to describe it, Johnny. I would have maybe put it, as I did put it, a little more harsh than that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a movie it's a 90s movie that's trying to cash in on 80s nostalgia, which was still relatively new, and it was kind of an unexplored piece because you had nobody from the original film working on this film in the writer's room. It's, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think that having a protagonist, here's the other thing too, and I actually mentioned this in my video, and I want to say this before I forget and before I move on, because I think the ultimate thing that this movie is lacking for me, if there had to be like other than just personal taste and nostalgia, if I had to strip those two things away and say why this movie doesn't work in terms of the universal, like, you know, I don't know, way it was received, is that you have a protagonist here in Hilary Swank, I think her name's Julie in the movie, who is completely unlikable for most of the movie. Most of this movie, she's a punk ass teenage kid who is disrespectful and rude and impulsive and annoying, and those things they're not exclusive to, you know, children or teenagers, but like LaRusso was not those things all the time. There's a balance. You have to be a little rebellious, but you have redeeming qualities. Or you have to be, if you're going to be somebody who's getting in fights at school and being disrespectful to your, you know, your senseis and your teachers, then you have to have something redeemable, like you're really good with animals or kids, or I don't know. But she doesn't have those redeemable qualities. She really just she's just an undeserving pupil. She's no LaRusso, I'll tell you that. Okay. All right, let's move on. We got, I think, one more. Ooh, one more. Next, we have The Karate Kid. This was 2010, I believe. This was Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. Sort of a remake, more of a reboot of The Karate Kid. The setup is a bit different. So for this one, Jaden Smith plays, I think his name's Trey or Dre in the movie, and he's a transplant from America who moves to China with his family. In China, he's getting bullied. There's a humble, quiet groundskeeper called Mr. Han, like Linkin Park, Mr. Han, played by Jackie Chan. So Jackie Chan doesn't play Miyagi, although if anybody but Pat Morita were to do it, obviously. But it is kind of the same. And a little, it's just a lot more modern, I think is what, it's Karate Kid for kids in 2010. Now, by 2010, you know, I was not a kid. I was already an adult. And so I think this movie never really hit for me. And I like Jackie Chan. I'm going to put this one in wax off. This one's not like terrible. This one's watchable. Honestly, it is more watchable than Karate Kid, the next Karate Kid for me. More watchable than that, I reckon. Let's get some B-roll of that going. So I'll talk a little bit about this one, but really here's what I like about it. It's a short list, but Jackie Chan is great in this movie. He has a couple of monologues and like a couple of speeches that he gives to Dre that are moving and as well performed. Jaden Smith also, he, you know, for his age, being a child actor at that age, you know, you would expect better from the son of Will Smith, but he didn't do a bad job by any means. Cable liked Jaden Smith in The Day the Earth Stood Still. I honestly, I don't even know. I would not be able to differentiate that movie from like a different one that sounds like it. I'm not even sure if I've seen it. Was that the one with him and Will Smith? Because that one was okay. Boo, 2010, boo. I have to ask you here, Mikey, are you booing 2010 the year? Like, did something really fucked up happen to you in 2010 and you're lashing out? Or is it that you're saying, you know, fuck the 2010 version of Karate Kid? Not a joke. Please clarify. I hope you're okay. Eric N says, look, this ain't Karate Kid. I mean, I don't know. It just, again, it depends on, like, I guess your generation, because I have a little brother who I think was 10 when this came out, and he might have some nostalgia for this movie that maybe we don't have. But to me, I don't know. It just is a Karate Kid ripoff. You know, that's what it is. It kind of feels like to me, if it almost, you know how like with something like the Hellraiser sequel, that's an odd comparison, but with something like the Hellraiser sequels, you know how some of those later ones were discovered to be movies that weren't originally supposed to be Hellraiser movies, but then they added Pinhead and then called them Hellraiser. This almost feels like this was gonna be something different. And then through the process of either writing it or filming it, they were like, you know, this feels like Karate Kid. Let's call it Karate Kid. It almost feels that way. I know that that's not the case because this movie was talked about before. Like it was planned. But it kind of feels that way. It's not unwatchable because if it's ripping off the Karate Kid, at least it's ripping off a good source. And it's not like the movie's not well made. It is well made. So, you know, there's aspects to it. I don't want to be dramatic and say that this movie sucks. It's just not for me. And especially in terms of this franchise, it's not for me. All right, let's take a look at the final fucking thing. We also, part of my language, I'm feeling sassy. This weekend has been or I guess this week has been very, very long. And so I think here at the end of it, I'm just excited that we're all here. Could the 2010 movie have led to the Cobra Kai series? That's from Kopesh. I don't know what you mean, but if you mean like, did making that movie create the idea and possibility for Cobra Kai to get made? Maybe. I think that really only the first Karate Kid is the only thing that made anything else possible. Anything else would have got made eventually, but that first one had to be the anchor, you know? Cable says we need Rush Hour 4. I would watch any number of Rush Hour movies. There's not a single Rush Hour installment in the trilogy that I don't like. I like all three of them. I think they're very funny. In terms of buddy cop movies as well, like that's one. If we're talking Hollywood nostalgia, let me pull myself up here so that you're not just staring at the. If we're talking about movies that make us feel the warm and fuzzies and comfort and all that, 90s comedies, but specifically like 90s action comedies for me, and maybe not. Yeah, I guess 80s, but then also like into the mid 90s. But movies like Rush Hour, Bad Boys, the Lethal Weapon films. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. I think all the Lethal Weapon films deserve at least a little bit of respect for even existing because they're great. And I don't care. I don't care if Joe Pesci was annoying. I think he was the best part of Lethal Weapon 4. And Chris Tucker was great in that too. Anyway, the whole point is movies like that really do it for me. And that might partially be what drew me to loving Deadpool and Wolverine so much, is it kind of felt like a buddy cop movie of that era. It was funny in that way. And that's how you make me happy on like the most fundamental level, is just give me something where like you got two characters that couldn't be more different, learning to get along while trying to accomplish a task. That's funny and it's interesting. And if you get two good actors like Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, you have gold on your hands. Let me know if you guys would want to do a stream about Rush Hour. Maybe that would be cool some Friday to do like maybe not a ranking, because that's pretty easy, only 3 movies, but maybe like a watch along or like a montage of like the best clips. I don't know. Kopesh, has Jackie Chan made any action movies in the past couple of years? I feel like he's pretty retired. Yeah, I mean, I think he is actually retired. I know that like he's coming back for the Karate Kid with Machio. Very excited for that. But I don't know if he's like in general still doing movies, you know? Ooh, good question also here. Cable. Jackie Chan versus Tom Cruise. Who is the best stunt man? That's a good one. I love that Tom Cruise does all of his own stunts. I love that being 61 or 62 years old, he shows no signs of slowing down in that regard. But I kind of think Jackie Chan has to have done like more stunts. Because we're not just talking American cinema. I mean, Jackie Chan has done a lot of Chinese cinema as well. And almost exclusive in the Kung Fu kind of realm. I don't know, though, but Tom Cruise just rode a fucking dirt bike off a cliff like last year. You know? Yeah, they should team up, Cable. I'm with you. I'm with you, man. They should. Let's see. Is there any other news that you guys want to talk about? I know that like I saw that there was a trailer for a new Bob Dylan biopic with Timothée Chalamet, and I was gonna talk about it, but I wanted to read the room before I did, just because I'm not sure if you guys care. But James Mangold is directing it, which, as we know, he makes a good biopic. He made Walk the Line and another biopic that's skipping my mind. Maybe Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know. Karate Kid doesn't age. I just think that there's always like a. There's just always like a. As long as teenage angst and fitting in and the fears of those things exist, there'll always be like a link to the concept of it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I hope so. And then I also saw, did you guys see the Gladiator 2 trailer? I saw it last night at Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it's been out for a while, but I never really took the time to sit down and like take it in. But last night at the movie theaters, I caught it. Man, I don't know if that movie's necessary. I know that, you know, I'm probably gonna get, I don't know, my car keyed or something for saying this, but I think Gladiator was a great enough movie that it does not need a sequel. I think Ridley Scott could have left it alone and just had that movie be a great movie. I'm not in the least bit curious about what, you know, about the development of that story. It ended with Russell Crowe. For me, I'm good, man. Ooh, Joe Fierro makes a good point about the stuntman debate here. Tom Cruise started in MI2, which was, I believe, 99 or 2000. And Jackie Chan has been doing that ish forever. You know, yes, but then also, I mean, there is more to it than just the amount of time of experience you have. There is other elements. I think Jackie Chan is just the better stuntman. I mean, his experience helps, but just in terms of like kung fu, if you have to do that much kung fu choreography, you're made to be a stuntman. Your body can take shit, you know? So yeah. Yeah, history lovers with me here. Pretty sure Gladiator 2 isn't necessary. It's not necessary. I just don't need to see it. I didn't even like the trailer that much. I think the cast is good. I think it's cool that Denzel's in it. You know? That's I guess all I have to say about Gladiator 2, which is a disappointment as well, because there is a part of me that feels like I want to support Ridley Scott, you know? He's made movies that are important to me, but I just can't keep up with everything becoming an IP or a franchise. You know what I'm saying? Cable says, can I review Gladiator, the 1992 Cuba Gooding Jr. movie? Maybe. If you guys would want to see that, the best way to get that made is just to comment on our videos and let us know what other videos you would like to see. Well, of course, watch the ones we make for you, because we work hard on them. But yeah, let us know. Comment. We're always looking for something fresh that'll make you guys happy. That's kind of the big thing. In fact, most of the time, I would say in terms of like my watch list, I usually base it on things that I know I'm going to want to talk about on a live stream, just so that way I can bring us together. And usually they're movies that I think you guys would enjoy. You know, like we covered the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, and I'm so glad we did that. And I loved the comments we were getting on that stream. Like James Marshall. Wow, I'm getting a lot of great comments, guys. Sorry, I'm reading through. And I'm also trying to keep up with like what topics you guys are referring to. I know that I'm kind of blowing through some of them fast, but I appreciate the activity in the comments, especially after the main topic is done and we kind of are winding to the end of the stream, which I'm sorry to say, guys, is coming soon. But you guys probably got to get to the movies, huh? Who hasn't seen Deadpool and Wolverine that's going to see it this weekend? Comment below if you're going to see it. I got to recommend it but I recommend it if you go into it promising yourself that you're just going there to enjoy it and you're not going there to pick apart the plot or you know, I don't know. It doesn't even look that bad. You know, like the other thing too, I saw a lot of people were talking shit about like the color palette and how it looks very washed out, typical Marvel color palette. And I will say it's more noticeable in the trailer than in the actual movie, because in the movie there's enough dynamic shots where the lighting is at least doing something. You know, it's not as flat as it looks in the trailer. Ooh, some of you guys are going later in the week. Okay, well, whew. Hopefully you guys see it before next Friday, because next Friday I gotta get into spoilers. I have to, before everybody else says the things that I want to say and I look like a hack piece of shit. I told you guys. I'm having a week. Okay. Let's talk. I'll tell you what. Let's talk merch. You guys want to talk merch? If you guys like the shirt that I've been wearing for this stream, let me get the mic out the way here. This is a JoBlo piece. It's from Poltergeist, one of the great movies of all time. And these are available in our merch store. And I want you guys to check them out because we like them. There's the one I'm wearing now. They look better on these models, of course, than they do on me, but they'll look even better on you than they do on these models. So get ahead and pick some up. And get me one, too, while you're at it. They're for movie lovers who want to have movie-related shirts but don't want to be hack about it. You know, everybody's got the shirt that says Han shot first, you know? And that was one of the OG kind of movie reference t-shirts. Well, maybe we've got one that says Greedo shot first, just to piss you off. I actually don't know if we sell that shirt anymore in the merch store, but we've got all kinds of great shirts, and they're a little subtle. They're tongue-in-cheek. They're for people who love movies to wear and not feel like they're advertising their hobbies. You know, they're subtle. So, whoa. Cable coming in with a really hot suggestion there, my man. Cable says, we need a JoBlo popcorn bucket. What if we had, I know it would be the most obvious, but a JoBlo head that you could open the top and eat popcorn out of. That could be cool. You know, as long as we get the thumbs up in there, that's kind of our thing. You know, that would be cool. I would love to do it. I'll tell you what, when our channel gets to like 1 million subscribers, maybe I'll make a one-of-a-kind 3D printed JoBlo popcorn bucket for the set, and we can put it in the live stream set or something. Maybe I'll do that to celebrate. So that reminds me too, if you guys aren't subscribed, we're almost at 1 million. I would love for us to be at 1 million by this time next year. So help us out. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Okay? We got great content coming every week. We got me on the lives coming every Friday, bringing you guys a little bit of attitude, a little bit of energy, but more than anything, a whole lot of movie talk, because that's what we're about here. That's who I am, and that's who I care about. That's Dan Aykroyd from Tommy Boy. Let me know if you got that reference. Okay. So go get your merch. Go do your thing. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the Saturdays, the Sundays. I think more importantly, enjoy Friday night. It's movie night here. So I'm probably going to have to go see what's on, see what's playing. I might go see Twisters in 4DX or whatever that is. Like where your fucking seat vibrates and stuff. What do you guys think about that? I'm thinking about doing that. Maybe me and a buddy will go, you know, sit in those fucking theme park ride chairs that move around during Twisters. That sounds kind of fun, honestly. That'd be kind of another good way to unwind. Oh man, thank you guys for these comments too. Sorry if I'm getting distracted. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys. Looks like everybody's off to the races, so I'm going to get going. I love you guys all so much. Thanks for coming. I'm enjoying doing these live streams, and it seems like you guys are enjoying coming to them. And I can't tell you how much it means that you guys come here and interact with me like this. So truthfully, hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. And if I missed any of your comments or questions, I'm really sorry for that. So join us next week, and hopefully I'll get to them. Okay. Bye, everybody. Much love.